Welcome to the first ever episode of Happy Mind Travel, an inspiring podcast for you to discover the power of psychology-based practices and spiritual exercises across time and space, helping you gain mental strength and making your life happier. Since day one humans are on Earth, we've been struggling to pursue and sustain happiness. Are you constantly looking for resources for mental health, happiness, and spirituality? Or are you searching for programs, books, materials, free or paid, only wanting to find the right way to finding happiness, but only feel more desperate and perplexed by tons of information out there? That's a lot of tedious work, I know, my friend. It just adds to your burden. Deep down, we know we want to be happy. But how? Happy Mind Travel is here to provide you those tools and knowledge about happiness across time and space, and genuine reviews of every resource we cover here, so you don't have to frantically digest every resource you find and feeling insecure to use them at the same time. We hunt for the materials, and it's on your part to implement those strategies and enjoy to be happy. Hey folks, I'm your host Pauline. Thanks for joining in the first episode of Happy Mind Travel, where we visit free and practical psychological tools to make you happier every week. Before we mind travel to visit the free tool today, I would like to talk a bit about my background and the rationale behind this show. As a psychology fanatic, I have earned my degree in psychology, and I'm concentrated in health psychology. My particular interests fall into mental health issues, positive psychology, and coping strategies. My research topic back at university has been about forgiveness and gratitude, and I'm currently digging into the topics of more positive psychology as well as OCD, as you know, obsessive compulsive disorder. My experience engaging in rehabilitation centers have inspired me a lot about how psychology could help people recover from mental illness and find their talents. Knowing that evidence-based courses can benefit people a lot, I have this idea to create a database of psychology-based practices that helps people reduce life burdens and build mental strength further. Now, there have been ups and downs in completing my degree, and in the process, I often heard about people with emotional problems or mental illnesses struggle to get in therapy or that they cannot afford therapies. My idol, Joshua Marks, as you know, the Master Chef first run-up in season 3, has been diagnosed bipolar disorder shortly after the competition, and later with psychosis and schizophrenia. And that ultimately destroys him, because there has long been a stigma that schizophrenic patients cannot be cured, and there is a lack of community support in his area. And so he ended his life bitterly. This really struck me because many times those people chose to end their lives as they lack the support they need. I then started to think, what if these people could get information about their emotional problems? What if they can gain support from online tools that help them manage their problems before it's too late? And what if they share experiences with online communities so that they can share their worries so they don't have to take the burden alone? In this show, I will introduce one psychology tool or a psychology exercise, resource, app, and also spiritual lessons in each and every episode. I really hope you all will find these materials helpful. Choose those that suit you and make it a habit to use those tools to practice it. And a little note that I want to remind you is that using those tools doesn't mean you have mental illnesses. And even if you're suffering from mental health illnesses, doesn't mean you're insane. There's so much stigma in the society. So I really want to emphasize that you having emotional difficulties, you encounter emotional problems, doesn't mean you have mental illness. And even if you are undergoing some mental illness problems, that doesn't mean it can't be cured or you are crazy. It just means that we, all people, will encounter emotional difficulties at times, and we can help ourselves out with self-help resources to tackle those difficulties. It's really a bliss if we can manage our mental health and don't let the burden pile up. So now that you know a bit about me and the show, let's start a mind travel. Today I'm going to introduce you an app that deals with our anxiety. It's called the Selfhelp Anxiety Management app. It's free and you can find it both on Android and iOS device. You know, anxiety could be a huge part of our lives if we focus too much on the unexpected side of our future. We worry about our job, our relationship, money, the mortgage, our kids, all kinds of things that we just can't toss out of our minds. Now, I want to give you some statistics as to why I think that, or we think that anxiety disorders are a huge issue in our modern daily lives. According to the National Institute of Mental Health, anxiety disorders are actually the most common mental illness in the U.S. alone, affecting 40 million adults in the U.S. age 18 and older, or as you would like to say, 18% of the population. Now, one good news is that anxiety disorders are actually highly treatable, but only about 1/3 of those suffering from anxiety disorders are actually receiving treatment. So maybe this could be attributed to different causes like inadequate support centers, services, or professional help. Or those people just don't really feel like they needed to go to therapies because they don't want to be stigmatized. Out there are many self-help books in the market, and I'm pretty sure you would benefit a lot from those books. After all, they're for your personal growth. I've bought many for myself to deal with my anxiety problems, emotional difficulties, and I learned a lot about it. But if you don't like to read so much and you just want a quick peek, a quick way into how to manage your emotions, then an emotion managing app might be your best choice. And the app, which I will call it the SAM app for the rest of the episode, I'm going to introduce you, maybe a perfect fit for you. Now, this SAM app is developed by a university team of psychologists from the University of the West of England. So you could be assured that it's based on some kind of psychological theories, evidence-based research, and is well-structured to guide you through the process. Now let's get started. When you've downloaded the app, which you can do now as you are listening to this podcast episode, when you've downloaded the app, it shows a clear interface with 8 sections. I've tried it for several weeks now, and I would recommend you to first look at the section called Work with Sam. Make sure you read the pages inside Work with Sam first before you jump into other sections. Now, this section is actually just a few pages, which gives you a clear message of what's in this app and how can you use it. How do you utilize it? It also contains some resources like helplines and where you can go to if you feel intense anxiety. And after reading that, you can go in the section of How's My Anxiety Right Now? It's a place where you can track your anxiety level. And they've actually divided anxiety into 4 different types. The first one is feelings of anxiety and tension. The second one, worrying thoughts. And the third one, unpleasant physical sensations. The fourth one, avoiding things I fear. And they've also explained each category so you know where it's your anxiety from. And there's a scale for each category. Basically, it's a bar. And you can move the spot along the bar to record your anxiety level at that very moment. And then click the save button to finish recording. You can always check in that area to record your anxiety level at any moment. Or you can schedule your time to enter your level. For example, 4 times a day. Or at night before you get into bed. So now that we know where to enter our anxiety level, where do we track them? Now there's an area called Anxiety Tracker, and it will automatically show your anxiety level graphically, which I love this feature the most. It's like a line graph. An important feature because monitoring the anxiety level is the first step to manage your anxiety. You have to know about your pattern before you can do anything to it. You would like to know, are you being anxious all the time? Do you have a special pattern? Do you have any improvements along the way? Is your anxiety intense all the time? Now, you may not notice your own pattern when you don't track it, but when you see it graphically, it may surprise you. So you can also choose which anxiety category you want to show. Remember the 4 categories I mentioned before? Just click on the settings button and take or untake the category options. You can also choose the time range your records are displayed on. It can be by months, by weeks, by days, or even by hours. And the next section you would want to go, it's things that make me anxious. It's actually a place for you to list out all your anxiety. Just tap the bar and write out the places, people, or situations that make you feel anxious. And make a little note about it to enter the details. Click on the reminder button to set a date and time and calendar. When it's time, it will remind you of this anxious thought. Now, you may be wondering, why would I want to remind myself something I'm anxious about at this stage? I'm already very anxious about it. But as you learn more and more anxiety management skills in this app, you can practice the anxiety management skills that provide, which we'll talk about in a sec. So it's a feature, an opportunity for you to practice your emotion management skills. So you don't have to panic every time when you're anxious about some things, you don't know what to do, and you feel more anxious about it because you don't know what to do. Now, their tools are very organized and with clear instructions. And those tools are all in the Self-Help with Sam section. There are materials on anxiety for you to read. For every material, they have given you the estimated time to read, ranging from 1 minute to 5 minutes. So you can learn about anxiety in your situation in a very short time. They also give a level difficulty labeled each exercise, so you can go for level 1 first maybe, before advancing to level 2 and 3. Usually, higher level exercise will require more time and effort or attention. And for every material or exercise and part, you can rate it. You can rate it a 1 star, and you can rate it a 5 star. This way, you can also know about how others think about this material, or is it helpful or not. So now we can go to other subsections. There are 6 in total. The first, which we just talked about, mainly is just materials to read. Very short and bite-sized materials to read. And other parts are thinking and anxiety, relaxation physical, relaxation mental, health and anxiety, and last one, take small steps. Now, I'll introduce and explain what each subsection is about. There are several exercises in each section, and you can always tap on the information button, or there's a little cloud at the bottom of every page to see the instructions. I will go through some of the exercise, but you can of course try them all to see which one fits you best. Now we are going to the subsection called Thinking and Anxiety, and it's all about knowing your thinking patterns and challenging those anxious thoughts. For example, the positivity practice asks you to write a negative thought, or you can add as many as you like, and then ask you to write a positive thought about that same situation. All your inner thoughts will then be presented randomly as bubbles on the screen. Just tap on the positive ones to earn a star, which I think this serves as some sort of virtual reinforcement. It might seem simple at the start, but often we cannot see the bright side or focus on the positive thoughts in our heads. When they are presented visually to our eyes, you will remind your brain to focus on happy and positive thoughts more and more until a point you don't need that device to remind you about that, because you've trained your brain to think positively. So I think it's a nice practice, especially when you are in highly anxious states. The next subsection is called Relaxation Mental, and it's similar to the section we just explained about, but to me, is more advanced and requires more energy sometimes. A level 1 exercise in this subsection will be like the worry half hour, which many self-help books have recommended. Now, just set a 30-minute break from work every day to worry about your stuff. Yes, to worry about your stuff, nothing more. And in that 30-minute, after that, stop worrying. You can write down everything you're worrying about and your ways to tackle about them. It can be tangible methods, preparation work, relaxation exercise, or any creative ways you can think of, whether you learn it inside or outside this app. It can just be as simple as reading a book about the topic you're worrying about. Now, there's a section about doing a simple meditation. It's a little exercise doing a simple meditation. And they do provide the instructions like pay attention to your breath, but I feel like it could be hard for starters. So I recommend you to find a meditation video with vocals guiding you on YouTube or doing that so you can enter that meditation mode easier. The next section is called Relaxation Physical, and it deals with our physical sensations when we're anxious. Now, they have a graphical timer for you to set a time for breathing in and out. So maybe you could practice, I think you could practice this Relaxation Physical exercise for you to get into the meditation mode in the previous exercise that we talked about. Now, they have a graphical timer for you to set a time for breathing in and out. And when the breathing area turns to purple, you breathe in. When it turns to green, you breathe out. You can also use that special timer they built for muscle relaxation. So how it works is just when the breathing area turns purple, you tense your muscle. Just one part of muscle, not all muscles, not all body muscles. And after 5 seconds, it will turn green and you can relax your one part of muscle for 10 seconds. There is also one exercise that many people find helpful called Ground Yourself, which I see that it receives 4 to 5 star. It needs you to think of a place and time when you feel relaxed, a calm and refreshing memory, and then create a hand or a finger movement like a wave or a flick. So when you're super anxious or feel that anxiety going up, use the movement to calm yourself down. It's like the hypnosis technique actually, conditioning the finger movement to a hypnotized mode in the first hypnosis session, so the client can switch to the hypnotized mode next time in just a sec, after doing the finger movement again. Okay, so when you have explored enough of how to physically manage your anxiety, we can go to health and anxiety section. This part provides information about how anxiety influences our health and vice versa. For example, they talk about how alcohol, food, exercises, sleep, work impacts our health, and gives you some little advice in that area. And there's a very interesting exercise called Mystical Monitor, which asks you to record yourself talking about you and your life for 10 minutes. And then listen to it again at least once. I've tried this exercise and I find that it could be a little emotional when you listen to the playback at first, because if you need this app, probably you have encountered some emotional problems. Maybe you're very anxious all the time. So probably you would talk a lot about your worries, but as you practice the exercises in this app, you might gradually find that the content or thinking pattern have changed over time, and the recording would be more positive than you expected. What's important about this exercise is that it gives you the self-awareness of your own life, your progress, and your thoughts, so you can better manage them. It's a great training, and I recommend you try it on your own recording device, because this app will store those recordings after you played it once. Okay, let's now move to the last subsection called Take Small Steps. This subsection gives a simple to follow step-by-step guide to manage your anxiety associated with specific situations. It kind of works like a behavioral method called a systematic desensitization. Now, it's a technique used in clinical trials, clinical therapies, helping people overcome phobias. The steps are really quite simple. If you want to mark it down in your notebook and try this exercise, please go ahead. First, learn the relaxation techniques. So there are plenty of relaxation, whether it's physical or mental relaxation techniques. You can find those all on this app. Second, list out a hierarchy of situations causing you to be anxious. Third, the third step is to rate how anxious you are, imagining one of those situations on a 1 to 10 scale. And fourth, practice the relaxation techniques when imagining your anxious moments or situations. And last, record your anxiety level again, maybe on a 1 to 10 scale. If you use a 1 to 10 scale before, then you use a 1 to 10 scale at this stage. Try this method with the situation you rated least anxious first. And when you think you've worked out the method to reduce your anxiety at this situation, you can jump to another upper level of the hierarchy. Remember, don't rush the process. Don't force yourself into the most anxious situation right up front, because it will only cause you to be more anxious. Now, I'll give you an example. You're very anxious about the interview you're going to have next week. So you have to write out the hierarchy of your anxious situations. Maybe at the lowest bottom, you can write simply the word interview. And the second, an upper level, maybe it's the interview room or your imagination of the interview room. And upper level, the third upper level, maybe your CV or portfolio you're bringing to the interview. Maybe every time you look at your CV, you feel, okay, I'm very anxious, I can't handle this. I feel like I'm very inferior and I can't compete with others. And a fourth step of the hierarchy may be a panel of people staring at you during the interview. Of course, it's in your imagination, so it's an imagination of a panel of people staring at you during the interview next week. So you can use this little exercise, take small steps, to help you overcome your fears from first, the word interview, and then second, the interview room, and third, the CV or portfolio you're bringing to the interview, and fourth, an imagination of a panel of people staring at you during the interview. and then practice the relaxation techniques with each of the levels in that hierarchy that you have written. Now we've gone through all the exercise section. Let's go back to the main menu. There's a feature called My Anxiety Toolkit. It's very easy to use. Every exercise in this app could be added to your anxiety toolkit. So when you find one useful, you can tap on the sidebar button on the top right corner and tap on Add to Toolkit. And this exercise will automatically appear on your anxiety toolkit page, so you don't have to find them again in those subsections. It makes it more convenient for you to practice your own anxiety management tools. And there's an even cooler feature that I think on this app called Social Cloud, where users can share support and guidance about managing anxiety. It's pretty good actually knowing that you're not alone in your anxious mode, and it creates a community to back you up and ask or exchange questions about the techniques you learned in this app or other techniques you learned elsewhere. You can write your posts and reply others' posts. Reading other stories and worries make you reflect on your situation as well. Sometimes we can get stuck in the same situation over and over again, and maybe it's just that we need others' advice to give us a spark and think out of the box. Using this feature only requires you to make a quick and simple registration. Just type your username and email address for password recovery, and boom, you can share your worries with others. And of course, you can always delete your account if you feel like you don't need it anymore. Click on the sidebar on the main menu, choose My Account, and follow the instructions to delete the account. On the sidebar of the main menu, they also listed out some links and websites for more information to manage your anxiety. Well, these are almost all the features that I want to explore with you on this SAM app. I think it's a great self-help app overall, pretty comprehensive and user-friendly, and it won't freak you out with a lot of materials to read before feeling overwhelmed with your worries. Most of the time when we're anxious, we really don't want to bombard our minds with lots and lots of information that we have to digest. It just makes us feel more anxious. So I think in this situation, an app that can quickly manage your emotional problems might be a better choice. Of course, you can dig deeper into how to manage your anxiety or how to manage your emotional problems further. After you use this app, you can always seek out self-help information, self-help books, materials on the internet, or you can buy a book, a self-help book that teaches you how to manage your emotional problems in depth. But I think at this stage, an app might be our best companion. So give it a try and start practicing those tools as a habit. Remember, no anxious thoughts will disappear overnight just because you do an exercise. You have to train your brain continuously and persistently to renew the thinking patterns. Be patient always, and you will be fine. If you're already seeing a medical advisor, counselor, or therapist, discuss this app with them. Always consult a professional when you think your situation needs one, and discuss your concerns with them. Treat this as a self-help tool, a practice to deal with your anxious thoughts. I do hope that this app will help you build a positive and healthy pattern. And if you have any questions about the features or any feedback on this show, you can always email me at pauline@ourhappymindtravel.com. I have also included a video on how to use this app, giving you a step-by-step guide on using all those features I've talked about in this episode. You can find the video and the show notes of this episode on ourhappymindtravel.com/Sam. And hopefully if you like this show, give me a 5-star rating and an honest review on iTunes. It would help me improve my podcast. It will help others find this podcast as well. I would love to see your comments on the show notes of this episode at ourhappymindtravel.com/Sam. Give yourself some time to settle down with this app this week before we travel to another one. Until then, happy mind travelers, take it one day at a time and enjoy to be happy. God bless.